Hello everyone, we are celebrating our 45th anniversary with a series of exhibits throughout the year in Hong Kong, with the then and the now. Currently in Hong Kong, we have two parallel shows. The Chinese Avant-Garde in Paris that highlights our ongoing commitment to showcasing diaspora artists in our central location, and New Voices in Paris now, between Memory and Matter at Alisan Atelier. We have the works of four pioneers in modern Chinese art, Chu Teh-chun, Haywen, Walasse Ting, and Zao Wou-ki. To get a better grasp of these artists and their works, we have to go back in time to Paris during the 1950s to understand what it was like for them to live, study, train, and thrive in what was not only the capital of France, but also one of the capitals of the art world. Before even arriving in Paris, these artists would have been exposed to Western art in two ways, one being art reviews that would evaluate and critique the latest exhibitions in Paris, which would then be transmitted internationally. However, these artists were also taught by a previous generation of Chinese artists that had been to Paris and returned with a French education. One of these artists was Lin Fumian, who studied at l'École nationale supérieure des beaux-arts in Paris, where he was educated in realist and naturalist art, but was also exposed to the art of the Western avant-garde like that of Matisse, Cézanne, and Modigliani. After his time in Paris, Lin had returned to China and founded the National Academy of Art in Hangzhou and taught Chu Teh-chun, Zao Wou-ki, and Wu Guangzhong, all of whom subsequently left for Paris after the Second World War. Chu Teh-chun described the school as the best place to nurture artists, expressing his gratitude to the teachers, their knowledge, and vision. Thanks to this initial exposure to Western aesthetics, Chinese artists were able to succeed very early on in the Parisian art scene. For one, Zao had some of his works exhibited for the first time in 1946 at Musée Czerniewski, despite not arriving in Paris until 1948. The West influenced Ting's identity more directly. He anglicized his Chinese name Ding Xiongchang to Walasse Ting. Paris was incredibly multicultural, so foreign artists were able to integrate themselves rather quickly. For example, after settling in Paris, Zao Wou-ki met local artists, art dealers, and cultural figures, blending into the art and cultural scene in Paris in a short time. Not only did they adapt to Parisian society, but artists of the Chinese diaspora assimilated almost immediately to the rule of the trend that dominated the international scene, from American abstract expressionism to French lyrical abstraction. While salons had previously been the main establishments to view contemporary art, the younger generation turned towards galleries to display their works. In the early 1950s, Zao joined the Pierre Loeb Gallery. Ting exhibited his early calligraphies and ink paintings at Studio Facchetti, Chu at Galerie Legendre, and Tang at Galerie Voyelle. At the time, there were two main neighborhoods that artists frequented. When these artists first arrived in Paris, Montparnasse was known as the district where Bohemian artists gathered and lived, and this focal point was where Zao Wou-ki decided to settle. The other neighborhood was Saint-Germain-des-Prés. This is where Walasse Ting would often exhibit his early ink paintings, as seen in the photograph taken during his first exhibition in Paris in 1954. Instead of following the traditional route and attending l'École supérieure des beaux-arts, these artists were partial to the free studio known as l'Académie de la Chaumière. These workshops presented the opportunity for them to exchange ideas with Western artists who also frequented the space, such as Modigliani, Giacometti, and Moreau. However, artist encounters were not constrained to the studio. Many artists and authors alike met at acclaimed cafes in the Saint-Germain-des-Prés neighborhood, like Café de Flore and Les Deux Magots. Right between these two cafes was a bookstore that also functioned as a gallery called La Une, where Zao Wou-ki would exhibit his early lithographs. For Zao, viewing Paul Klee's art at an exhibition in Switzerland was a turning point and had a lasting effect on him, seeing as he would adopt a lyrical abstract style. Nicolas de Stael's work had a similar effect on Chu, whose art would also become an exponent of lyrical abstraction. Ting's biggest inspiration, even before he arrived in Paris, was Henri Matisse. Both of these artists flatten space and paint similar themes and subjects like women, nature, and interiors, including decorative objects such as goldfish bowls, Paris, flowers, and so on. Out of these artists, Ting would be the one to collaborate the most with his contemporaries. While not formally a part of the Cobra group, he was heavily associated with it and was close friends with known members like Carel Appel. For all of these artists, Paris had become an inextricable part of their artistic and cultural identities. When awarding Zao the French Légion d'honneur in 2006, Jacques Chirac, the French president at the time, said, "Zao Wou-ki is as much French as Chinese." Chu was the first Chinese-born artist to be elected to l'Académie des Beaux-Arts, and he also received the very same Légion d'honneur in 2001. For Walasse Ting, we've held 14 solo exhibitions. For Chu Teh-chun, we've held 5. For Zao Wou-ki, we've held 5, and for Haywen, we've held 1. As we commemorate and remember the deep ties between these artists and Alisan, our goal is to continue to dedicate ourselves to our mission to promote and support exchange across cultures and generations.